Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're venturing into something truly colossal, the kind of topic that can leave you staring up at the night sky with a whole new perspective.
Hmm.
One of you, actually, a fellow explorer of these big cosmic ideas, pointed us towards a fascinating piece in Aeon.
Ah, yes.
And it all centers around the single, incredibly evocative image, the pale blue dot.
That famous photograph. Voyager 1, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Way back in 1990.
that's the one.
From what, 6 billion kilometers away?
Yeah.
Just staggering.
Yeah, and what you see is Earth, our home. Just a tiny, pale fleck of blue sort of hanging in this vast darkness.
It's become such a powerful symbol, hasn't it? Really hammers home how small we seem in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely, and I think for a lot of people, that initial feeling, when you really look at that tiny speck, is one of just profound cosmic insignificance.
Right? Everything. All
Yeah.
of human history. Every person, every battle, every invention.
Well, on that dot, barely visible.
Yeah. Reduced to a pixel.
So the big question we're digging into today, really inspired by that Aeon article, is this. Does the pale blue dot genuinely reveal our fundamental irrelevance? Or is that feeling, maybe, possibly, a kind of illusion, a trick of perspective?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? And to really get a handle on that feeling, it's actually quite useful to contrast the pale blue dot with another iconic space photo, Earthrise.
Oh, yeah. Apollo 8, 1968. Totally different feeling.
Totally different. Instead of that distant point of light, you've got our world, vibrant, swirling blues and whites and browns.
Rising over the moon, that stark gray landscape.
Exactly. And the emotions are just worlds apart. Earthrise tends to spark this sense of awe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Reverence, maybe. Concern for our planet.
Definitely environmental concern. I remember reading Galen Roll called it possibly the most influential environmental photograph ever taken. Something like that.
He did. It really captured that sense of a precious oasis. Now, the pale blue dot, equally powerful, but often triggers that other feeling. Being cosmically tiny, adrift, maybe even unimportant in this huge, huge universe.
Yeah. Which leads us to where that feeling comes from. The Aeon article traces it back, maybe surprisingly, a few centuries, to Blaise Pascal.
Ah, Pascal, 17th century philosopher, mathematician.
Right, and he was living right in the middle of this massive shift in understanding the cosmos, wasn't he?
He absolutely was.
Yeah.
You had Galileo's telescope just opening up these incredible new vistas. Suddenly, the universe wasn't just the planets and stars we could see. It was, well, vastly bigger than anyone had imagined.
The old Earth-centered view was crumbling.
Pretty much. And Pascal, faced with this newfound immensity, this sheer scale, and what he perceived as this profound silence out there. He felt a deep unease, a kind of terror, actually.
That famous quote, "The eternal silence of these infinite spaces terrifies me." Chilling.
It really is. It speaks to that unsettling idea that maybe the universe isn't some neat, divinely ordered place with humanity right at the center.
So it's that potential loss of purpose, that feeling of, are we just here? Does any of it matter on this scale? That echoes down to us seeing the pale blue dot.
I think so. And the article mentions others, like Joseph Conrad later on, writing about the awful loneliness and the hopeless, obscure insignificance of our globe. It's a recurring theme, this cosmic anxiety.
It seems to be. That silence feels like indifference.
But, and this is where the Aeon piece gets really interesting. It challenges that assumption. Does the potential absence of God or a divine plan automatically mean human achievements are insignificant?
Right. That's such a key question. Why should, I don't know, the Taj Mahal or the incredible navigation skills of Polynesian voyagers
Or George O'Keeffe's paintings, or Da Vinci's notebooks, or John Coltrane's A Love Supreme.
or discovering DNA, why should all that suddenly lose its value just because there isn't some cosmic stamp of approval?
Exactly. Does significance require a divine audience? The article pushes back on that. It even flips it around. What if having an all-powerful, infinite God actually dwarfed our significance even more?
That's a counterintuitive thought. Like our knowledge compared to God's wisdom.
Precisely. Or the beauty we create versus, say, the sheer visual power of the Horsehead Nebula, that amazing reddish cloud in Orion. Maybe that's the comparison that makes us look small, rather than the emptiness.
Okay, so the philosophical argument is one thing, but there's also just the raw problem of scale, isn't there? Our brains just aren't built for this.
That's a huge part of it. Our whole sense of space, of distance, is rooted in our bodies, our experience here on Earth.
Like, you know how far the door is because you know it's, say, 10 steps. Or how childhood homes seem smaller when you go back as an adult.
Yeah, our internal ruler is human-sized. Think about ancient measurements, the cubit, the foot based on the body, or how we explain big things to kids. A skyscraper is so many giraffes tall,
Right, relatable, even if it's not scientific. It gives us a handle on things.
but that whole system just breaks down completely when you hit astronomical numbers. Nature can overwhelm us even here on Earth, the Grand Canyon, the Himalayas.
Joyce's scrotum tightening sea and Ulysses, that visceral reaction to scale. Yeah.
Exactly. Now try to imagine Venus.
Mm.
The article says it's like 7.6 billion giraffe lengths away.
Billion. Wow.
And Neptune, 940 billion giraffes. It becomes meaningless noise almost.
And Proxima Centauri, the nearest star, 40 quadrillion kilometers. My brain just quits.
Mine too. And then you get the Hubble Ultra Deep Field, capturing, 10,000 galaxies in a patch of sky smaller than a grain of sand held at arm's length.
It's beautiful, but completely beyond intuitive grasp. We invent astronomical units, light years.
Tools to manage the numbers, yeah. But as the article says, you still kind of wonder, okay, but how far is a light year in? Like real money. There's this disconnect.
So maybe feeling insignificant based just on not being able to picture the distance? Maybe that feeling isn't the whole story.
Yeah.
Because our perception evolved for, finding berries, not navigating galaxies.
That's a core part of the argument. Our perceptual tools aren't fit for this job. But the aeon piece adds another crucial layer about the pale blue dot image itself, something we often miss.
Okay, what's that?
It's not just empty space. It's an image of Earth in that space. And crucially, Earth itself, the place containing literally everything we value, is barely visible. It lacks. Well, the term uses perceptual salience.
Salience, meaning it doesn't grab your attention, like how you hear your name in a loud room or spot a face in a crowd. Our senses pick out what's important.
Exactly that. We're wired to notice certain things. And in that image, Earth is just not attention-grabbing at all. It's incredibly easy to overlook it.
And the worry is we then equate that lack of visual pop with a lack of actual significance, as if the universe's objective view is the one where Earth doesn't stand out.
That seems to be the psychological leap we sometimes make. We trust the image, the view from nowhere, and conclude that if something isn't salient there, it's not truly important.
But the article really pushes back, saying, hang on, it's just one image, taken from one specific, very distant viewpoint.
Precisely. It has limitations. Think back again to Earthrise. That image makes Earth look incredibly salient, bursting with life and color, right?
Yeah, totally grabs your attention.
But that image hides the vastness of space around it. So neither picture gives you the complete truth, whatever that might even mean. They're both just perspectives.
Which leads into that really cool thought experiment they propose, the consciousness camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine Voyager wasn't just taking a regular photo. Imagine it had this hypothetical gadget.
Science fiction tech.
Totally.
Yeah.
But imagine it could detect planets capable of supporting consciousness. And it marks them on the image, maybe with a bright red pixel.
Okay.
So it snaps the picture of our solar system. What do you see? Maybe still a tiny dot for Earth, but it's a bright red dot.
Instantly salient. It stands out.
The feeling you'd get from that bright red dot image, it would likely be completely different, wouldn't it?
Yeah, small, but
Enormously significant. That's how the article puts it. Size wouldn't be the main story anymore. The presence of consciousness would.
And then they scale that idea up, like a whole universe survey with this consciousness camera.
Yeah, now, okay, it's possible, maybe statistically unlikely, but possible, Earth is the only red dot.
The great silence is real.
Could be. But current estimates, they suggest maybe 50 quintillion potentially habitable planets out there.
That number again. Mind-boggling.
Right. Even if a tiny, tiny fraction of those actually developed consciousness, you could still be looking at maybe 50 billion conscious worlds in our galaxy alone, using a conservative guess.
Okay, so even if our specific kind of human creativity, our art, our science, is unique here,
Or unique even in our whole galactic neighborhood.
on a truly cosmic scale, with potentially billions of other red dots, we might not be particularly eye-catching just by virtue of existing. We'd be one among potential many.
That's the implication. It shifts the perspective again, doesn't it?
It really does. So, wrapping up this deep dive, drawing on that aeon piece, it feels like that sense of cosmic insignificance from the pale blue dot comes from a mix of things.
Yeah, the sheer vastness, the perceived silence, the fact our brains just aren't equipped for these scales.
And the way Earth itself lacks that visual punch, that salience in that particular photo.
Exactly. But the big takeaway, maybe, is that those feelings, however powerful, might not be a reliable guide to our actual intrinsic significance.
Just because we look like a pale blue dot from billions of kilometers away.
Ah.
Or maybe even one red dot among billions. Does that really diminish everything that happens on this planet? What we are, what we create?
What does it truly mean to be significant anyway? Is being cosmically attention-grabbing the only measure? Or even a meaningful one?
That's the thought to really chew on, isn't it? Maybe our significance isn't about cosmic visibility.
Maybe it's about something else entirely. The fact of consciousness itself, perhaps. Our ability to even ask these questions.
Definitely gives you a lot to ponder. If this whole exploration sparked by the 8-Eon article has got you thinking, we really do recommend checking out the original source. It goes even deeper.
Yeah, lots more nuance in there.
And of course, if you enjoy these kinds of deep dives into big ideas, please do like and subscribe to the show.
It helps others find us.
Exactly. We'll keep bringing you these explorations, trying to make sense of ourselves in this amazing, baffling cosmos we find ourselves in.